I see the Congressman has joined us as well, so I thought I'd just start with a quick bio. There's a couple of embellishments that I want to do with it as well. But Congressman Langevin, thank you very much for joining us. I know your schedule this week in particular is extremely busy, so really appreciate that you could be here with us. Congressman Langevin is a senior member of the House Armed Services Committee. He's the chairman of the Intelligence and Emerging Threats and Capabilities Subcommittee and also serves as subcommittees on Sea Power and Protection Forces and Tactical Air and Land Forces. He's a national leader on securing our nation's technology infrastructure against cyber threats. He also co-founded the Congressional Cybersecurity Caucus to increase awareness around the issue and co-chaired the Center for Strategic International Studies Commission on Cybersecurity for the 44th presidency and the Obama administration. But I have a personal fondness for people that are sort of self-made, people that did something at a young age, that sort of thing. And what really jumped out at me, in addition to the Congressman being such a huge partner for NTSC for the last 6 years and helping us with legislative things, is after serving as secretary for the state of Rhode Island's Constitutional Convention in 1986, he actually won the election to the Rhode Island House of Representatives, and then in 1994, he became the nation's youngest Secretary of State. So that really just sort of resonated with me. Congressman, again, thank you so much for joining us virtually today.
Well, great to be with you. Can you hear me okay, first of all?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent, very good. Well, good morning, everyone. Great to be with you, and thanks for the invite to join you, and great to be with the National Technology Security Coalition. Appreciate the work that you do. It's a pleasure to be with everyone once again. The last time, it's been a little bit of time since we were last able to get together, but pleasure to be with NTSC, though virtually, at National CISO Policy Conference. As Jason, as you mentioned, cybersecurity has been one of my top legislative priorities as a congressman now for many years, and I have to say that I always look forward to an opportunity to speak about developments in the field, especially to people who get it, and you are all certainly on the front line and get it. So again, just particularly appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Chief Information Security Officers who are really so critical to our nation's cybersecurity. It's never lost on me the importance of your work. So I know that your job certainly can be difficult in the best of circumstances, and that the past year and a half has forced CISOs to deal with unprecedented cybersecurity challenges, no doubt about it. So again, I thank you all for what you're doing to keep our networks up and running and keeping them safe. So for my position as a member of Congress, one of the things that I think the most about is how to improve operational collaboration between the public and private sectors. I've often said that this is not the challenges of cybersecurity are not something that government can solve on its own. It's not something that private sector can solve on its own. It really is going to take that public-private partnership and collaboration. Put simply, we need to ensure that the federal government can be an effective partner to CISOs around the country. And we've made some progress here, largely through the work of the Cyberspace Solarium Commission, which I hope that you're all familiar with. And if not, I encourage you to check out our work. But the commission, which was created in 2019, at the end of our time basically meeting, we issued our final report with 80 recommendations. We then turned those 80 recommendations into introducing 55 legislative proposals to improve the nation's cybersecurity. I'm pleased to say that more than 25 of which were passed into law as part of last year's National Defense Authorization Act. Notable highlights to the bills that we were able to get enacted into law: the codification of the roles and responsibilities of sector risk management agencies, formerly sector-specific agencies, the establishment of the Office of National Cyber Director. As you may know, that's We have our first Senate confirmed National Cyber Director in Chris Inglis. Proud of the work that he's doing, and was a valuable member of the Solarium Commission as well, and former Deputy Director of the NSA. We also were successful in the creation of the new Joint Cyber Planning Office, and also the creation of the Advisory Council of CISOs for CISA, something that NTSC I know was instrumental in getting accomplished. So these measures, I am no doubt, will help strengthen operational collaboration with the private sector, but really so much more is yet needs to be done. And so, our work continues, hopefully collaboratively, and I'm really excited to discuss some of our legislative ideas that would build on the existing progress that we've made. I also know that ransomware, of course, is a major concern. Many attendees here today. Certainly is a priority of mine, and I was glad to see the Biden administration take action yesterday against Russian cryptocurrency exchange and that was hosting ransomware payments and supporting their cyber criminal behavior. However, I think that sort of activity is really just the beginning of what we need to do to materially alter the threat landscape here. And I'm looking forward to discussing that more here today. And I have to just pause here. And I have to commend the Biden administration being much more forward-leaning on this topic than any of his predecessors. The president, as you know, has assembled a great team. Chris Inglis as our inaugural National Cyber Director, Jen Easterly, head of CISA, and Ann Neuberger, the Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber, are really all inspired picks. He's put a really all-star team together. So again, it really is. It's not only about the policies we have in place, but it's about the people we have in place. And that, by the way, goes to the workforce, which we need to continue to focus on developing, throughout the government and private sector. So we can get into that more as a topic as well. Something that I really want to see enhanced over the coming years. Again, both for government and private sector. I've often said that government can't be just growing or getting its slice of the pie bigger. We need to grow the whole pie itself. So with that, I'm going to stop there, and excited for the discussion with Jason. And so I'll wrap up my remarks here. Again, thank you for the opportunity to join you today.
Thanks so much, Congressman. So I wanted to start with just maybe if you could provide a little bit of education for the group. We did have Jen Easterly here this morning, and she talked to us for about an hour about the JCSC being set up and sort of her vision for that. But there's also some quite pivotal legislation that your office has been spearheading as well. And I think you co-authored a Lawfare article a couple of weeks ago around making joint cyber defense collaborative work. Which was a really good article that touched on a number of things, but getting a SICI designation or making sure that we as a nation know what are all of the companies that are part of private infrastructure that are critical to our nation's success, and having that designation, certainly other areas of legislative work that your office has helped to lead as well. So just give us your sense for how you think we might be able to help in the sort of move from information sharing to a more collaborative environment, and if there's anything specifically that we can do to help your office, or if there's any ask that you have of us, we certainly wanted to put that out there as well.
So the joint collaborative environment is going to be really important going forward. And I'll kind of touch on two things. First of all, really important that we have an environment where both critical infrastructure and the government can really sit side by side and have a common tool set for analyzing threat information, threat data, and you're seeing it in context. So that's really important. Also, you touched on systemically important critical infrastructure. We have to get our arms around and identify really what that is. So basically, systemically important critical infrastructure would basically build on the foundation laid by Section 9 of President Obama's Cybersecurity Executive Order from 2013. So I have to say this is a very good start, but it really didn't have the follow through from the government either in terms of security requirements for owners and operators of Section 9 entities or in providing them with prioritized assistance. So think about how to improve the foundation with SICI. We need to start with identifying the most critical of critical entities, and which is basically a small subset of the 16 critical infrastructure sectors. One way to think about SICI entity criteria is whether if they're hit with a cyber attack, if it's just the company having a bad day or the entire country has a bad day. So these are the types of things we need to, I think, quantify, and we're getting close. I think you're going to see the hearing on this very soon, and you'll have those hopefully made in the very near future.
Excellent. That's very helpful.
And if I could just now, that's kind of a segue into the joint collaborative environment. I probably maybe should have led more with that as well. But one way to again improve that public-private collaboration is through the establishment of the joint collaborative environment. And again, this is going to be one of my top legislative priorities for this year. And although we got it through the House last time, we weren't able to get it through conference with the NDAA. But it's all well and good to enable information sharing between the public and private sector on cyber threats. However, information sharing and any subsequent analysis of that information is really going to be substantially less effective if you without a common tool set for analyzing cyber data from different sources and enterprises. So your entities need to be able to make sense of the data coming from different sources around the cyber ecosystem. The joint collaborative environment will provide an environment for analyzing information on cyber threats, cyber risk, and malware forensics. And it would also provide a tool set in a cloud environment that public and private sector stakeholders could use collaboratively to analyze data.
Outstanding. It's definitely groundbreaking thought leadership in this administration, and certainly applaud all of your efforts on that. Could you also, you touched on it just a little bit, but there is an existing Section 9 designated list of companies in all 16 critical infrastructure sectors, and there's a certain number of things that should be prioritized to help bring government or a whole of government approach to that list. Now we're looking at the new designation for SICI. Can you just touch on a little bit how you think those two things might coexist?
Yeah. So
Or not?
it's going to be very important once we have the designation that there's going to be this new social contract, if you will, between the excuse me, these systemically important critical infrastructure sectors and the government. We were looking at things like liability protection if the sector, if these SICI entities comply with certain requirements. We'll see you make sure that SICI entities are getting support they need from government to secure their systems. And elements of the intelligence community to be required to inform SICI entities if they were being targeted. And we'd also provide, again, going back to liability protections for damages from a cyber attack if they complied with the requirements expected of them. So as I mentioned, the Homeland Security Committee on which I sit is looking closely at codifying the concept of systemically important critical infrastructure. And I think that we'll be holding a hearing on the topic by sometime in November.
Excellent. And Congressman, there was just a little bit of interference with the, I think there might be some paper on the desktop with the microphone, but you also touched on a really, really important topic, which is diversity in cyber in general and sort of diversity equity and inclusion in this space, but a lot of that goes to just a broader talent agenda and making sure that we do have the right skills as a nation to sort of man the firewall, so to speak, as we need to. So could you just sort of share with us, a lot of the CISOs in this conference certainly have a lot of different sort of pipeline capabilities where we're looking at elementary schools and trying to teach, cyber safety, and going into high schools and trying to do internships, and going into colleges and looking at military recruiting and looking at a number of upskilling programs that are available. But how do you sort of think about that ecosystem for learning and making sure that we really do as a nation sort of rise to a higher level of cybersecurity talent in both the government and in the private sector?
Yeah, so right now, too many cybersecurity jobs, as you well appreciate, go unfilled, and we need to address that deficit. If we don't, we ignore it at our own peril. So we have to start with our education system. I think the Israelis have a good model in that they really build in cybersecurity from the very youngest stages. So I'm talking about K through 12 education, baking cybersecurity in. It's always the case, of course, where academia is slow to catch up to what the real world needs are of business and public sector. We're starting to see that gap closed. I mean, I've seen it at the college level, where you have, first it started out with certificate programs and then master's programs. Now you're seeing both majors and minors in cybersecurity at colleges, universities around the country. But we even need to go even broader than that. And again, going back to enhancing K through 12 education and also baking in this idea of everybody practicing good cyber hygiene is important. We start with that. So many of the cyber attacks, intrusions, problems that we see could potentially be avoided. Just applying security patches and encrypting data and having strong passwords, things of that nature. Beyond that, though, on government side, I'm a strong supporter of the Cyber Core program. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with Cyber Core, but it's a scholarship for service program. It allows someone in the junior or senior year, if they're accepted into this program, to have their tuition paid for. In the junior and senior year, a stipend of over $30,000 a year while they're in college, and then to repay service, the person would go into a cybersecurity related job at the local, state, or federal level for a period of 2 years. Hopefully that draws people in and it makes them want to stay in government as well. But again, it's not just about government growing its slice of the pie. We need to continue to grow the whole pie itself. We have to find incentives for thinking about getting people to go into this field. And Suzanne Spalding, one of my fellow commissioners, talked about the idea of, she's championing the idea of a private sector partnership whereby you encourage students in their senior year of high school thinking about going to a career in cybersecurity and do something similar to Cyber Core, but it could be more broadly, whether they go into a public or private sector cybersecurity job. It's a way of enticing young people to think about a career field in cyber.
Excellent. Well, Congressman, I can't tell you how much we really appreciate you sharing your perspective on all these topics. Obviously, if there's anything that we can do that you would have as an ask of us, we certainly wanted to close out on that as well.
So I would say engage with your members of Congress and staff. Never underestimate your ability to bring important perspectives to the table. Cyber is not going to be everybody's priority per se or expertise. There's 435 members of Congress, and each member has their own level of interest or expertise. May relate something specific to their district, but look, cyber touches everything, and it is the national security and economic security challenge of the 21st century. We need all hands on deck, and with your level of expertise, you can be a great help, just in even an advisory role, and helping to educate members and staff about the priorities in cyber, and never take it for granted. By the way, if you hear of a cybersecurity bill that's in Congress, that don't assume that that we know. I would say it's better to err on the side of caution and speak up, get in touch with the member of Congress or staff and weigh in. And certainly, I stand ready to assist and work with you in any way. But this kind of continued engagement is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of the public-private partnership as well. It's important.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Congressman. And Patrick, I'll turn back over to you.